So I showed you this Craftsman that I got for free a while back, and I've done some work on it, cleaned it up a little bit, fixed the valves, adjusted the valves. They're skiddy. Everybody likes to see skiddy. Adjusted the valves a little bit. And, I determined that a mouse had chewed through the spark plug wire, so I ordered a new ignition coil. And I had planned on working on this today, see if I can get it to turn over, well, not turn over, but it turns over, but to get a spark out of it and see, maybe even get it started. Pour some starter fluid into the carburetor and see if it would turn over on its own. I'm sure it needs carburetor work, but I can't work on it today because something happened yesterday that kind of changes everything. So I get a call from a guy I've already done work from. Well, actually, it was the woman actually contacted me, but she just relays the messages. And so I worked on his John Deere and fixed the deck on it, but it was having carburetor issues, and I told them it was having carburetor issues, and they wanted to bring it back and see if they could put some carburetor cleaner in it and get it to run better. Well, they couldn't, so she contacts me again and says, can you work on that carburetor? And I said, well, sure. So they wanted me to come pick it up. And so I go over there, and there's a Craftsman sitting there. I'm thinking, well, that's not a John Deere. So he says, I want to give you this. And then you can come back on Monday, because this is a holiday, Father's Day weekend. And I want to get, you can come get that John Deere on Monday and work on it. But he says, I want to give you this. So thought I'd get on here and see if it runs and what it's all about. This is a pretty amazing Craftsman. It's a V-twin, so it's a 22 horsepower. That means it's got 2 cylinders, 2 valve covers, 2 spark plugs. Most of your smaller engines always had 1 spark plug. It does have a little bit of oil leak, but I already think I figured out where it's coming from. It's coming in from the overhead valve gasket, so I'll take those off and clean those and make a new valve cover gasket, adjust the valves. It's a little dirty. The blades need sharpened, so I guess we'll see if it runs. I've got a battery in it. He loaned me a battery, but he wants it back. It runs. That's incredible. I'm going to turn on the mower deck. Okay, so the mower deck did not disengage. So I guess I need to break the news to you. I knew this ran. I just wanted to surprise you with it. This is a free lawnmower. I looked them up, and they're on Facebook Marketplace, and they're going for about $200, $300, and none of them run correctly. Not a one of them. This one at least runs correctly. I know I didn't move it around, but it does move around. I took it down the hill and brought it back up, mowed. So what just occurred to me though, I thought I might have had a mower deck belt was too small. I'm betting there is a missing spring that is not bringing the engagement pulley back, because it was not spinning when I started it. So last night I already ordered a battery, so we're going to disconnect the battery out of this. We'll give that back to him. I'm not going to take the battery out until after I wash it up today. I'm going to wash it up. Then I'm going to see if there's any more leaks. So my goal is to spend very little money on it. So we're already up probably $15, $20 for the valve seals. We're going to do an oil change. That's probably another $20 or $30. So there's, you know, there's $50. I want to get a new seat cover. You can buy nicer ones on Amazon. And the John Deere one is more expensive. I think the rest of them was like 15 bucks. And then I would like to kind of touch up any scratches in the paint, if possible, just to kind of clean it up. Get the mower deck off, take a look at it, clean it up, patch up any rust spots. And the air filter needs changed. I'll change the spark plugs, but most of that comes with a kit, with your oil change kit. This is pretty incredible. This is pretty incredible. I mean, it's just like somebody giving you a $500 bill. I mean, look at these tires. These tires are in excellent shape. The two back ones are different, so they've replaced one. He said he got it and the brakes didn't work, but he must have repaired them because they work now. That tire's a little low, but I kept an eye on that overnight. It might have a slow leak, so it's a little bit lower than it was yesterday. That's pretty, but it's a slow leak. So I have a plug. I'll put some soap water on that and see if we can find where the leak is, and we'll just plug that up. It shouldn't be too hard. And I'll take the battery out after I clean it up. That way I can move it around. It looks like it has some sort of nest in there that needs to get taken out of there. So I bought a cheap battery off Amazon. It had good reviews actually. $19, $20. So let's get it up to 100 bucks, let's say. And if I can sell it for $400 or $500, I mean, think about it. Every one I looked at, V-twin, all that, was about $300, and none of them ran correctly. All of them had some problems. Now you saw maybe when it started up, a puff of smoke came out. My guess is that overhead valve leaking is causing oil to leak into the cylinder. So eventually it would have started misfiring the spark plug. I maybe even take the cover off here and check the gap of the ignition coils. He filled it with oil. It looks like it might be okay. Okay, let's put some soapy water on this tire and see if we can find any bubbles. It'll bubble up pretty quick. My concern is it's going to be on the bottom side. The other thing I need to check is the valve stem. So I'm going to have to turn the lawnmower or push it. We'll see what I can get done. I don't see any signs of leaking. So I'm going to air this up. I'll give it another 24 hours and see if it goes flat again. So I ran it yesterday and I didn't see a lot of smoke coming from it. But I pulled it around here and it smoked lightly, very lightly. So there might be a blown head gasket in this. I'm not really sure how to proceed. I don't really want to take it apart to find out without changing the overhead valve gasket first. But if I do that, then I might have to take the overhead valve gasket off anyways to take the head gasket off. I'm not sure how this one's designed, but that might be what I do, is just go ahead and do the overhead valve gasket, put it back on, see if it stops smoking, and then move on from there. it's not smoking a lot. So if it's a leak, it's very small, and that's not usually very common. So it is smoking a little bit more than I saw yesterday. So I will go ahead and, like I said, replace the overhead valve gasket because I'm sure that's leaking. And then I will take a look at the head gaskets. I'm hopeful that it's not a head gasket, but it probably is. I know that when I was working on that Husqvarna a few weeks ago, the overhead valve gasket was leaking so much oil that it was going into the cylinder and causing smoking like that. So I'll just do that first, see what happens. I also will foul out the spark plug, which is what happened to the Husqvarna. It hasn't happened to this one yet, but I will be able to tell if the spark plug is dirty. Now, it won't tell me whether it's a head gasket or overhead valve gasket, but it'll get there. I'd be disappointed if I'd take that off, but it's not that much more money. Battery off, give it back to the person giving me this lawnmower. Now that everything's done, I want to get done for the week. And then when I get the battery, then I'll be able to move it around a little bit better so I can work on that mower deck. The mower deck is the next priority. You take the negative off first. That way you don't ground out by hitting something with your wrench. The downside to working on lawnmowers like this is it's been worked on so much. I just literally put on, or took off a bolt that had a 10mm bolt head and a 7/16 nut on it, so it wasn't even threaded correctly. They just torqued it on there the best they could. There's lots of nuts and bolts missing on this whole machine. Carolyn found a bunch of them in the drink holder over there. For example, you see this bar here, but there's none here. She found that. So that's good. At least they held on to them, even though they didn't know where they went. I'll have to clean that a little bit better before we put it cleaned up. We're still trying to determine if we want to wax it or not. It wouldn't take that much to wax it. Carolyn scrubbed the hood really nice. Even worked on the lenses for the lights. Where you really notice a difference is in the inside. I wish I had a before and after, but I didn't think about it. But this was just coated in grease and oil. I cleaned the engine while she cleaned all the body parts. All that oil's off there. Again, I don't have a before and after, but you can imagine with an oil leak that well, yeah, I really think that's where the leak is. So, but I even got the wheels, cleaned those up the best I could. I missed some spots obviously, but those were just caked. Got this one back here looking good. Now, I went ahead and ordered stuff for it. I ordered the overhead valve gaskets, new oil filter, fuel filter, air filter, and a new seat cover. Nice looking seat cover for 18 bucks. So the total of that came to $71. I'm gonna go in and I'm looking for an head gasket, see how much those cost. In case I gotta do it, I'm not gonna order it just yet, but if I gotta do it, then I wanna know how much it costs. So my goal is to put a price tag 500 on this. And if I can get 400 out of it, 350, that'd be fantastic. So clean it up real nice and hopefully get a nice price tag out of it. You don't want the obvious things to show. And the smoking, that's obvious. The dirt's obvious. Get that mower deck working right, That's obvious. All the little nitpicky stuff, missing bolts and stuff, they're not going to care about. And it's a powerhouse. It does a fantastic job. I'll get a compression tester here, I think on Friday. I'll go ahead and compression test it, just see where it's at. That could be another reason it's smoking. If it is, then I'll get some sealer. You can buy engine smoke, sealer, put it in with the engine oil, and that kind of fills in the scrapes in the cylinders. I might even try that first, just go ahead and get the oil, the sealer, and seal it up and see if that helps any. So for 71 bucks, I think we got a good deal here. It's free. So I hope I can inspire you to start something new. So you live your dreams. Thanks for watching.